going on, guys? Welcome back to Cinemaniac Central. My name is Chris, and this is what I call my comeback review, which is for Scream 7.
Guess who? Nice little town you found. You and your pretty daughter.
Your asshole hiding behind a voice changer.
Oh, I'm not hiding, Sydney. Not this time.
And so, before I get to my thoughts on Scream 7 and why I call this my comeback review is that, yes, it's been over a year since my last review. I believe it was Carry On, which came out in December of 2024. 2025 was just not good for me financially. I realized toward the tail end of 2024 that what I was doing for a living was not going to cut it, so I had to go back and actually work a real job. I mean, I was doing delivery stuff with DoorDash and all that, and it was just not. I mean, I enjoyed it. It just financially wise, it just was not going to work in the long run. So I decided. I think I made the right choice. I think I made the best choice, and that is actually going back to working a real job. You didn't come here to listen to me talk about that. So you came here to hear my thoughts on Scream 7. And that's what I'm going to do right now. So, yes, I finally just watched Scream 7. This movie, I'm a huge Scream fan. This movie has just gotten a lot of negative. It's been pretty divisive, actually. You know, there's been a lot of positivity on both sides of the fence. People are saying it's great. Other people are saying it is shit. It's garbage. And so, you know, as a Scream fan, it really got me worried, you know, because the last two Scream movies, Scream 5 and Scream 6, have been equally pretty successful on both sides of the critics and with the audiences, you know. Scream 5 has a 76% Rotten Tomatoes. Scream 6 has a 77%. Audience score for Scream 5 is like a 83%. And audience score for Scream 6 is 90%. And I know it's Rotten Tomatoes. People like to badmouth Rotten Tomatoes, and I get it. People say don't listen to critics. I mean, they're critics for a reason. They know what they're talking about, and some are actually make legitimate arguments and put out legitimate reviews to the movies, because there are movies that are legitimately bad that they do review and see as bad. And so you kind of have to give critics some credit. But there are other movies where they're actually fairly entertaining, fairly good, that critics do give negative reviews to. So there's a lot of bias on both sides of the coin. But yeah, nevertheless, as much as shit as this movie has been getting, as well as some of the good stuff has been said, I've still been excited to see it. The whole thing with the leaks and the whole boycotting thing, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's stupid. I think the idea of just boycotting this movie and then turning around and giving a negative review, whether you saw it or not, because you're going to give a negative review anyway, it's just bullshit. I hate it. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. Grow the hell up, you know, those of you that do that. And those of you that go out there and spoil the movie for everybody just for kicks, again, grow the hell up. It's stupid. And unfortunately, yes, it was leaked out to me before. I got that leak, you know, that who the ghost faces were, unfortunately. But thankfully, honestly, I kind of had that suspicion anyway, because early on about, you know, a little while back during the review, during the, you know, the current talk about Scream 7, is that there were rumors about a certain cast member was being cast as somebody's sister. And so I was thinking, well, that, you know, would make sense, you know. And honestly, I wouldn't have minded it, because I like this particular actor or actress, as you could say, because of the stuff that they done. And I wouldn't mind if they were Ghostface, you know, same way Patrick Dempsey was the killer in Thanksgiving, you know, John Carver. And so, but yeah, nevertheless, I was excited to check this out, no matter what, whether I was, you know, spoiled or not. And I gotta say, This movie definitely does have the worst reveal. That is the biggest criticism this movie has gotten, and it's a pretty consistent one. And I'm on that side of it. I'm definitely on the side of this does have the worst reveal. Um, the whole thing with AI that's played into the plot, I actually didn't mind that. I really didn't. First, let me get into the pros of this movie. First off, I thought Neve Campbell and Isabel May, I thought they were great. I thought Neve Campbell was pretty good here. I think she still has it as the final girl, as Sydney Prescott. She's Sydney Prescott for a reason, and so performance wise, I think she does really well. Isabel May, I love Isabel May. I can't. I thought she was really good. She's really good in that movie that I don't think anybody has ever seen that. I never hear anybody talk about it. I see it on Facebook advertised all the time, but nobody outside of that post that's on Facebook a lot talks about this. And there's that movie called Run, Hide, Fight. It's like a Die Hard version. She's really good in that movie, and I think she's really good here too. I think that she would be a great successor if we could end. Because I do think that Sydney Prescott. I think even though she is a fantastic final girl, I think that her story should end very soon, if not now, and then we can carry on with maybe with Tatum and Isabel May's character as a successor to her mother, and so either way, I thought both of them were great. What was actually a surprise was, when I heard about, the casting of Sydney's husband, Joel McHale, which is actually, is Mark Evans instead of Mark Kincaid, and that Patrick Dempsey wasn't going to return to the franchise after his appearance in Scream 3. I know a lot of the fans were disappointed there, and so yeah, I was actually kind of worried about how that would actually work, and honestly, surprisingly, I thought Joel McHale was really good here. I thought that the scenes that he had, I think he came across as a very loving husband. He is a cop. He is a police chief of this town called Pine Grove, and so and there was some talk about the police not being anywhere. There was some decent scenes with police that actually were around outside of his character, and so yeah, there was some criticism about where the cops at around this neighborhood. Well, they were there. They weren't there 24/7, but they were around. But yeah, Joel McHale, I thought he was good here. There was the sequences where he was fighting Ghostface, specifically before a certain collision happens. I thought it was pretty badass, man. And like I said, Joel McHale as a character I thought he brought some likability to his character as her husband. He came across as a loving husband, a solid police officer, a solid cop, and a pretty good fighter against Ghostface. So, the screen time that we had with him, I wish there was more of it because he was good. The kills, I want to say the kills are actually pretty good. It is pretty cool. It's not as people were talking about how brutal it is, how gory it was. I don't think it was as gory as that people kept hyping it up to be. The blood, as far as like there might be a little bit of CGI in some of the sequences, but I don't think it was bad as people kept saying it was. I thought it was really wild, really good. There is a scene with another character in a bar involving a bar tab, and it reminded me a lot of My Bloody Valentine. Let's just say this. A lot of My Bloody Valentine, the sprinkler scene in My Bloody Valentine when the killer picks her up and sticks her on that sprinkler head, and the sprinkler sprays out the water mixed in with the blood. That same thing happens here with beer. And I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty cool. And that was a great little homage to that movie. And that's pretty much where my positives end. Let's just go into my negatives. Overall, I found it to be an entertaining sequel. I think I liked it a lot more than most. But this thing does have its flaws, and many of them, and so I'm going to get into some of them here. So the cons, let's just say the script is terrible. There is some dialogue here. The script just does not do any favors for our lead characters. There are certain lines that are said, primarily direction that's given, and the decisions that some characters make, primarily with Neve Campbell and Isabel May and Courtney Cox. Despite Courtney Cox having a really great entrance, and it's a pretty badass entrance too. I have to say, Courtney Cox is just. I thought that she was wasted here. She does not have a whole lot to do. She just doesn't have a whole lot to do here in the last half, because she doesn't show up to like the last half of the movie, and it's kind of disappointing. It really is, and just I think that she was wasted here. You have Chad and Mindy come back, and I feel like the movie just didn't benefit much from them coming back. I mean, it's great to see them. Don't get me wrong. I like them as characters, and I just didn't see much. I didn't see much evolution from either one of the characters from 6 to here. And I feel like if you just took them out altogether, and it wouldn't have made this movie any better, nor would have made it any worse. And so, yeah, I just didn't see any to them to be necessary. Same with Gale, honestly. If Gale didn't show up, I mean, it really would not have impacted anything. It wouldn't have changed anything, I would have been perfectly fine with just Sydney dealing with this whole situation, with her thinking that Stu was back, and these ghost faces running around, trying to kill her daughter, kill Tatum. And so, yeah, it was just bad, but I think Courtney Cox despite having a really great entrance, for the rest of the movie, man, there's just certain decisions that she makes that makes no sense. Certain decisions that Sydney makes that don't make any sense. Like after Sydney finally decides to give Gale the interview that Gale's been asking for 30 years, and after that interview, I mean, something happens, Sydney gets a call and she runs out, and you don't see Gale until the very end of the movie after Sydney leaves. And like I said, there's a decision that Sydney makes that makes no sense. It's stupid, especially when her daughter is in danger and she's having to go after her to try to save her. I mean, it's dumb. So yeah, Director Kevin Williamson, I mean, that's what kind of worried me about him coming on as a director, is because he has very little experience as a director, because the only other movie that he directed before this was Teaching Mrs. Tingle. And I actually kind of enjoy that one. It's not a great movie at all, really, but it's an entertaining one. It's a movie that I grew up with. I was 12 years old when it came out. And so it's fine. It's decent. But yeah, when it comes to a Scream movie, you would think that Kevin Williamson would have delivered a lot better, even though he was just a writer. And that's where this movie falters a lot, is in the writing. You're going to hear that a lot with other reviews, is that the writing is terrible. And that primarily goes to, what our characters are doing, not just what they're saying. And so, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of room to improve with Kevin Williamson here, and I'm afraid if he stays on as a director for Scream 8, because we know damn well Scream 8 is gonna happen, because it's doing very well in the box office. I think right now it's sitting at around $104 million, so it's made over double its budget. So it's gonna happen. But yeah, there's definitely room for improvement. I'm hoping that Kevin Williamson recognizes the flaws and hears the criticism, and improves on it. But yeah, let's just get to the elephant in the room here, the biggest negativity, and that is this does have the worst reveal. And yeah, early on in the movie, it does become kind of obvious who one of the ghost faces are. and then when you see another character, you kind of get an idea about who the other one is. And then there's this other side character too that winds up being a ghost face. That it makes no sense. It's irrelevant. You didn't even need that other one. But yeah, this is definitely the worst ghost face in this franchise. And I gotta say, oh man, it's not just and for me, honestly, it's not the character that Ghostface that bothers me. It doesn't bother me who the Ghostface is, to be honest with you. Because like I said, I like this actress, I like this actor that is Ghostface. Both of them anyway. But it's the motive. It's the motive that really kind of just, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm not going to give it away here. This is mostly a spoiler-free review here. I know I mentioned some kills, but you probably heard about it already. So, and again, but yeah, this has some of the worst Ghostface reveals, the worst Ghostface reveal in the franchise. I want to say why so much. It's hard to elaborate why this is the worst reveal, and it's like I said, it's the motive. Plain and simple. The motive is what really bothers me because it is so stupid. It makes no sense. The opening sequence is great. I didn't even mention that in my positive. I like the opening sequence. The negative that goes with that, though, is it has no relevance to the rest of the story, the rest of the plot, other than being kind of stupid for this Ghostface to do that because you're just really kind of doing Sydney a favor. And it made no sense. Because you seen it in the trailer. Stu Macher's house gets burned down. I mean, what advantage does that give you? You're just, are you making it seem like it's a disadvantage to Sydney? Because it's not. It's an advantage because you burned down one of the guys, the house of one of the guys that tried to kill her 30 years ago. So what was the point? And the fact that Woodsboro is in fucking California, and I think Sydney lives in Illinois or wherever, I think it is. So why would this Ghostface fly all the way to California just to burn his house down and then come all the way back? It makes no sense because it's stupid. Anyway, but let's just the motive is terrible. Some of the side characters, McKenna Grace and Celeste O'Connor, that was kind of disappointing because we didn't get a whole lot of screen time with McKenna Grace, and I love her, but she should have had more screen time. She died way too early, but she has one of the gorier deaths, so there's that. And so, but yeah, and Celeste O'Connor, I mean, she was fine. I mean, she was okay. But yeah, overall, this movie, despite Scream 7 having more flaws, honestly, than the positives, the flaws do outweigh the positives for me. But for some crazy ass reason, I actually kind of entertained. I was actually pretty entertained by it. I was worried that the reveal was going to be so bad, and the motive was going to be so bad, which it still is. I was afraid that it was going to just kind of take everything else before it that leads up to it. But I was actually entertained by that stuff previously enough that it didn't do all that much damage. It didn't ruin it completely. So I'm gonna give Scream 7 a 7 out of 10. Yeah, I know that sounds kind of high for a lot of negatives that I have for it versus some positives, but I was entertained by it. I thought Neve Campbell was pretty solid here. Isabel May was pretty solid. Joel McHale was surprising. Also, the kills were good. Overall, it was entertaining. Yes, dialogue was terrible. Ghostface reveal was terrible, awful. Motive was bad. Writing was terrible. Williamson could have done a whole lot better job directing. overall, Scream 7, it was fine. It was entertaining enough, and I give it a 7 out of 10. But yeah, thanks for checking out this video. It's great to be back. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I can have a lot more consistency, and I will be back with more content for you guys as the year progresses. I love you guys. You guys are the best, and I will see you next time.